Hi, my name is Nur Afifah binti Umar, metric number 267967. So I will explain about the introduction. Developed countries are taken into account in the developed economy and it is as industrial country. This largest economic development consists of the shift of capital and manpower from agriculture to manufacturing. The comparison country between Germany and Singapore. So let's move to the background of the Germany. Germany divided into 16 states collectively referred to as Länder, and each state needs its own constitution and the necessary autonomy. It has developed economy and a high quality of life for its people. Germany is a slightly larger urban resource and it only needs 4 different populations of 1 million people among the Berlin, Hamburg, Munich, and Cologne. Next is the background of the Singapore. Singapore known as the only first world country in Southeast Asia, and it's divided into 3 regions, which is Orchid Central, Tuas Island, and Jurong Islands. Singapore is one of the most prosperous countries in the world with its regulated environment, consumer friendliness, and low unemployment rate.
So, next one, we proceed to socio-economic information. As we know that Germany is one of the developed country in 20th century. So, when we talk about one of the developed country in the world, we will look at its socio-economic in Germany. Based on the 2020 records of financial flexibility, Germany's financial flexibility record score of 73.5, making its economy within the 27th freeze within the 2020 records. By and large, score is stayed the same from the 2019 records, with an uptick within the government judgment score balanced by a small bit drop in legal adequacy. Germany positioned 14th among 45 nations among the Europe local, and it in general score is well over the territorial and world average. The German economy records a duel with the lower half of the generally free position for around more than a decade. GDP development, moreover, extending relentlessly in spite of the fact that may be less than it optimally. Excessive government investing and expensive work control are the chief guilty parties abetting the development of financial opportunity and economy itself in Germany. The prospect for market-oriented revamp in either category are thin beneath the current authoritative. The Germany government has multiple down on a costly bundle of measures to address the climate alter on the financial analysis gauge that will take a toll €54 billion by 2023. Next one, we will proceed to socio-economic information in Singapore. Singapore financial flexibility record score of 89.4, making it the world freest economy within the 2020 list. In general, score is stayed the same from 2019, with only little change within the trade freedom score balanced by a small bit decay within the government integrity score. Singapore are presently positioned at first among 42 nations within the Asia Pacific local, and its by and large score is exceptionally well over the territorial and world average. Singapore are positioned among the freest economies within the world over the life of the list, but it moreover pick up the best spot this year for the primary time. Its maintained uncommon execution has appeared that brought about in one of the world's most elevated per capita salaries and very strong rates of GDP growth. Singapore is its nation within the worldwide that aspect as financially free in each file category, progressing limitation on respectful freedom, whereas it's not straightforwardly influencing the country score. It moreover may have a roundabout effect on financial opportunity and stay a concern.
My name is Muhammad Aiman bin Ahmad Azli. My number metric is 267602. Okay, today I would like to present for my part in our Simon Group discussion. So my part is for internal association or GNL blocks and another relevant information. for the developed country and developing country. So for the developing country, for as said, the Germany, for the transition of model of Germany over the past 2 decades has taken for the genealogy to understand the structure of contemporary political economy of Germany. The victory of the Order Liberal Group support by the momentum change in the domestic. So the religion global context, it's become a new ideological force and structure for the German political economy. So, for example, the success of Germany supporting economics liberation by reforming the industrial structure made by important of the world economy. In the section of the Germany industry and investment transnationalization in the world since in the 1990 has been a main reason in this article for the considering of the Germany economy's power in recognition economy. So, in comparison, the worst of the Germany reckoning about the network increasing by consolidated in Asia. In Europe, because it is increasingly becoming a new president will weaken of the Germany rules of Asia forwards. On the hand, in the involvement of Germany is a European in the forum of economy diplomacy with the Asia can be expected to be the one of gateway to enhance the economy and political. Next is for the system of administration or specific policy sector on research on years for the time frame. In the late 1980, value-added intervention strategies changed. Declaration of the product system becomes the new paradigm in the industry restructure. The big companies are not the one of inspiring to expand export the various parts of the world, because this is also the variable with the companies about especially the strategies to cross country. Meanwhile, in 1980, also to the inflow of the world, we jumped to the almost 24 times in the transaction companies in the Germany world. Next, this is transaction company. We relate to the context of global industry reform for the Germany outlook for the amount. So in the countries of Germany is also starting the variously expanding to transnational companies throughout in the world. West European countries, the number of companies is split with Germany on transaction companies increased from 13,000 to 1991 and also to 17 early in year 2000. That's all from me. Thank you.
So let's move to the system of administration in Germany. Germany have an administrative structure of the Federal Republic of Germany that can be characterized in three principles, which is separation of power, federalism, and local governance. For separation of power, it is divided into three power, which is legislative, executive, and judicial power. Next is federalism, and it defines 16 landers or countries as members of the federation but still retains power their own sovereign state, and the local governance and the right of each Germany, which mean of local government to manage local affairs under its own responsibility. Next is system of administration in Singapore. Singapore is a small town with population about 4 million and have small geographical. Singapore has become of the most developed city, and economic achievement have been based on initiative and effort pursued largely by the government. Singapore have three separate branches, which is the legislative that comprising the president and parliament, legislative body to make laws in the country. Next is the executive that comprising cabinet minister and officers and headed by the Prime Minister, and the judiciary And lastly, the judiciary is the body that interprets the law through the courts.
My name is Nur Shazlana. My metric number is 267862. So I will explain about significant issue that may affect Singapore and Germany. This is the infographic that I show you. Firstly, is about changes in employees that affected to Singapore and Germany. For the first point is amendments to the working hours, exception for maximum working hours and minimum breaks, as well as prohibitions on working on Sundays and public holidays apply. For the second point is changes to short-term work allowance. Government has increased profits for workers with different relate to the effect of the COVID-19 crisis. Okay, this is affected to Singapore. First point is employees and other individual perform moving actions. So, employers or principals may not request or other persons in need of movement control actions. For example, home notification or quarantine orders, the place of work. An occupant must include any individual who is or who is made by the occupant is required. For the second point is employee and other individuals. Okay, individuals showing a stated picture or fever should not be at work. In addition, employees and others must have other conditions implemented by the employer or principal by rules. This issue will affected to economic impact. So for the Germany and Singapore have been hit by the financial and economic crisis, the effects are somewhat delayed. Okay, for the GDP is decline in the second quarter. Okay, this is the infographic that I show you is compare both countries, which is Germany versus Singapore. Okay, first point for differences between two countries is economy, which is differences gross domestic product. Germany is the world's largest exporter and produce a surplus of trade. Meanwhile, Singapore economy is heavily dependent on exports and refinement of imported goods. Second point is taxations. Singapore's tax system is based on one-tier corporate tax system, which ensures that the tax paid by companies on taxable income is the final tax. Meanwhile, for Germany, corporate taxes are inconsistent as different municipalities may impose different trade taxes on business. Lastly is working culture, which is Germany has proposed a no work after hours by hours regulation, which would prohibit employers of their employees by email or phone calls after scheduled working hours. Meanwhile, Singapore is lack of land and lack of natural resources. Singapore was forced to work twice. In conclusion, developing countries such as Germany and Singapore show that the economy brings an improvement towards developing countries. In different countries, the concept of knowledge prevailing in times of political, legal, economic, as well as global economic and political pressure. The two countries discussed above explicitly using knowledge issue for development, and their governments seems to be actively seeking knowledge concept appropriate to people's circumstances, global pressure, and success during development.